exposing religious lies, the true gospel of salvation. Salvation that liberates the mind rather than terrifies the soul.
Bum 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 bum, ayadema, hey. Bum 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 bum, ayadema, ayade. Bum 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 bum, ayadema, hey. Bum 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 bum, ayadema, ayade. Bum bum bum.
Come and listen. With your awareness fully awake, not as someone seeking rescue from hell, but as someone tired of being threatened, but as someone ready to be rescued from what was done to your mind. Slowly, quietly, deliberately. We are the true gospel of salvation, not diversion sold from fear, not salvation from demons, invented to keep you vigilant, not salvation from fire, designed to haunt your imagination, not salvation postponed until death, used to delay your dignity. We preach salvation from indoctrination, the first and deepest captivity. Salvation from manipulation, where guidance must control. Salvation from deception, where truth was rationed. Salvation from brainwashing, where identity was rewritten. This is exposing religious lies without reverence for the lie.
Liberation from emergency spirituality. Liberation from emergency spirituality. Liberation from emergency spirituality. Liberation from emergency spirituality.
I expose the doctrine that keeps the soul in crisis mode, because permanent emergency disable reflection. I reject sermons that frame existence as an ambush, because life is not a battlefield by default. I withdraw from belief systems that require constant inner fair language to stay relevant, because peace threatens institutions built on fear. I am not in danger for existing, because danger was exaggerated to justify control. I reclaim slowness, stillness, and safety as sacred, because urgency is a manipulation tactic.
Liberation from the manufactured enemy. Liberation from the manufactured enemy. Liberation from the manufactured enemy.
I see now how invisible enemies were invented to give fear a target, because fear without an enemy collapses. I reject the constant redirection of anxiety toward demons, witcheries, curses on spirits, imaginary enemies keep real systems unchallenged. I refuse to live inside narratives that require perpetual suspicion, because suspicion erodes community. I step out of doctrines that train me to distrust everyone, including myself, because isolation makes obedience easier. I release the need for enemies to explain my humanity, because complexity is not evil.
Liberation from prayer and psychological conditioning. Liberation from prayer and psychological conditioning.
I dismantle prayer that functions as self-hypnosis, because repetition can program as easily as it can soothe. I reject prayer formats that bypass thought and activate fear reflexes, because trance is not transformation. I withdraw my voice from chants that rehearse catastrophe, because what is spoken daily becomes internal reality. I refuse to use language that trains my nervous system for panic, because peace will not grow in rehearsed terror. I reclaim silence that is not surveilled by doctrine, because awareness is light defiant supervision.
Liberation from salvation as dependency. Liberation from salvation as dependency.
I expose salvation narratives that never arrive, because delayed freedom keeps people compliant. I reject being permanently in process, while leaders remain permanently in power, because endless becoming is a leash. I refuse systems where healing is always promised but never completed, because unsolved pain is profitable. I step out of beliefs that require lifelong submission to stay saved, because freedom that can be revoked was never freedom. I claim wholeness without intermediaries, because access to life does not need gatekeepers. Liberation from sacred hierarchy. I dismantle the ladder that places God at the top and humans at the bottom, because hierarchy conditions inferiority. I reject the idea that self-acceptance is arrogance.
Exposing religious lies, the true gospel of salvation, liberation from fear-based salvation. I reject fear as a pathway to truth, because truth that requires terror survives only by intimidation, not by reality. Any system that requires terror to be believed is not revelation, but coercion, because truth does not need threats to be accepted. I release my mind from threats of hell, judgment, or eternal punishment designed to silence my questions, because questions are the first sign of an awake mind. I do not owe belief to fear, because belief without consent is psychological captivity. I do not owe loyalty to threats, because obedience extracted by violence is not faith. My worth is not conditional on submission, because dignity precedes doctrine. I reclaim my right to exist without spiritual blackmail, Because no system that profits from fear deserves authority over life. Liberation from authority worship. I would draw power from titles, robes, pulpits, rotas, and so-called anointed voices. Because symbols do not equal truth. No human speaks for the universe on my behalf. Because consciousness cannot be delegated. No institution owns my conscience. Because conscience is not property. I do not outsource my thinking to leaders who benefit from my obedience. Because profit-driven guidance is manipulation. Authority must explain itself or lose legitimacy. Because unquestioned power always abuses. I return my discernment to myself. Because freedom begins where dependency ends. Liberation from doctrinal guilt. I reject inherited guilt. Original sin narratives and moral debt assigned before my consent. Because responsibility cannot precede existence. I was not born broken. Because damage must be proven, not assumed. I was taught to feel broken, so I would seek repair from the same system that wounded me. Because dependency is more profitable than healing. I release shame that was installed, rehearsed, and rewarded. Because shame is a control mechanism, not a moral compass. My existence does not require apology, because being alive is not a crime. Liberation from mystery as control. I dismantle the use of mystery as a weapon. Because confusion is not sacred. What cannot be questioned cannot claim authority over me. Because truth survives examination. I no longer confuse confusion with holiness. Because disorientation benefits controllers, not seekers. I no longer honor contradiction as virtue. Because coherence is not rebellion. If something demands belief but forbids examination, I revoke its power. Because secrecy is the language of manipulation. Clarity is not rebellion. Because understanding is not disobedience. Liberation from spiritual surveillance. I disconnect from the internal watcher placed in my mind. Because constant monitoring fractures the self. I am not being monitored, scored, or judged by invisible observers. Because fear-based awareness is not enlightenment. My thoughts are not crimes. Because imagination is not sin. My doubts are not sins. Because doubt is how truth is tested. I reclaim mental privacy. Because no donkey has the right to occupy my inner space. Silence inside my head belongs to me again. Because peace is not permission-based. Liberation from violence, baptized language. I reject aggressive speech disguised as prayer. Because violence does not become holy by repetition. I refuse language that trains me to see enemies everywhere. Because paranoia is not discernment. I release doctrine, mentoring family, ancestry, community, and the self into battlefields. Because war thinking destroys human bonds. I do not sanctify paranoia because fear cannot produce wisdom. I do not glorify destruction because collapse is not transformation. Peace does not require enemies to exist because wholeness does not need opposition. Liberation from ancestral curse narratives. I sever the lie that my bloodline is cursed, monitored, or guilty. Because ancestry is not a courtroom. My ancestors are not demons. Because history is not evil by default. My lineage is not a battlefield. Because identity is not a war zone. History does not own my future. Because time does not imprison consciousness. I am not required to fight the dead to live. Because survival does not require quieten enemies. I step out of inherited fear scripts. Because fear passed down is still fear, not truth. Liberation from identity capture. I am not a label, a convert, a sheep, a sinner, or a spiritual subject because labels simplify control. My identity is not granted by initiation. is not approved by institutions. Belonging that requires self-erasure is not belonging, because connection should not demand disappearance. I keep myself because losing the self is not salvation. Liberation from promise-based control. I withdraw belief from delayed rewards used to excuse present harm. True salvation is not escape from hell. True salvation is release from captivity. Captivity of fear, captivity of obedience, captivity of borrowed authority. Salvation is not an event, it is an awakening. How prayer became a weapon against the self. We expose the second lie, that prayer is communication when it has been engineered as conditioning. Because prayer was reshaped from reflection into rehearsal, from communion into mental drilling. Repeat the danger, repeat the enemy, repeat the threat, repeat the curse, until the nervous system no longer knows rest. A person trained to pray in warfare language cannot experience peace without guilt, cannot experience calm without suspicion, cannot experience silence without fear. This is not spirituality. This is psychological militarization, the invention of spiritual enemies. We expose the third lie, that the world is full of invisible enemies assigned to your life. Demons, witches, ancestral curses, monitoring spirits, destiny exchangers. These enemies were not discovered, they were manufactured because fear needs objects. And notice the pattern, the enemy is always unseen, but the authority is always visible. The enemy has no address, but the solution has a bank account. The enemy cannot be questioned, but the preacher cannot be challenged. This is not coincidence, this is design. Why ancestry was targeted. We expose the fourth lie, that your lineage is evil because of people disconnected from their ancestors are easier to reprogram. Ancestral demonization was never spiritual. It was colonial psychology dressed in theology. Erase the past, rename the roots as curses, reframe memory as danger. Once a people are taught to hate where they come from, they will cling to whoever claims to save them. This is not deliverance, this is identity death. Fear as dungeon, dark solid effect. We expose the fifth lie, that fear is accidental in religion. Fear is not a flaw, fear is the engine. Fear keeps people praying without peace. Fear keeps people giving without clarity. Fear keeps people obedient without understanding. Remove fear and the system collapses. That is why questions are called rebellion. That is why doubt is called sin. That is why leaving is called backsliding. A truth that cannot survive calm was never truth. The God that needs intimidation. We expose the sixth lie, that God must be feared to be honored, because the God presented is not infinite intelligence, but an amplified authority figure. Watching, scoring, recording, threatening. His God resembles empire. compete with your mind. It does not silence your questions. It does not fear your freedom. Salvation without intermediaries. We expose the seventh lie, that access to truth requires permission. Priests, pastors, prophets, apostles, gatekeepers between the human and reality. But consciousness does not need representatives. Meaning does not need brokers. Truth does not need middlemen. The moment someone claims exclusive access to God, they are no longer serving truth. They are selling dependency. What the true gospel actually is. The true gospel is not belief. It is liberation. Liberation from fear-based dependency. Liberation from inherited sin. Liberation from invisible enemies. Liberation from spiritual deliverance. Liberation from obedience as virtue. The true gospel does not ask you to die to yourself. It asks you to return to yourself. It does not demand blindness. It restores sight. It does not require submission. It restores sovereignty. Why exposure is salvation? Exposure is not rebellion. Exposure is deliverance.
Any system that requires terror to be believed is not revelation but coercion. Because truth does not need threats to be accepted. I release my mind from threats of hell, judgment, or eternal punishment designed to silence my questions. Because questions are the first sign of an awake mind. I do not owe belief to fear, because belief without consent is psychological captivity. I do not owe loyalty to threats, because obedience extracted by violence is not faith. My worth is not conditional on submission, because dignity precedes doctrine. I reclaim my right to exist without spiritual blackmail, because no system that profits from fear deserves authority over life. From authority worship. I withdraw power from titles, robes, pulpits, altars, and so-called anointed voices, because symbols do not equal truth. No human speaks for the universe on my behalf, because consciousness cannot be delegated. No institution owns my conscience, because conscience is not property. I do not outsource my thinking to leaders who benefit from my obedience, because profit-driven guidance is manipulation. Authority must explain itself or lose legitimacy, because unquestioned power always abuses. I return my discernment to myself, because freedom begins where dependency ends.
Liberation
from doctrinal guilt. I reject inherited guilt, original sin narratives, and moral debt assigned before my consent, because responsibility cannot precede existence. I was not born broken, because damage must be proven, not assumed. I was taught to feel broken, so I would seek repair from the same system that wounded me, because dependency is more profitable than healing. I release shame that was installed, rehearsed, and rewarded. Because shame is a control mechanism, not a moral compass. My existence does not require apology. Because being alive is not a crime.
Liberation!
From mystery as control. I dismantle the use of mystery as a weapon because confusion is not sacred. What cannot be questioned cannot claim authority over me because truth survives examination. I no longer confuse confusion with holiness because disorientation benefits controllers, not seekers. I no longer honor contradiction as virtue because coherence is not rebellion. If something demands belief but forbids examination, I revoke its power because secrecy is the language of manipulation. Clarity is not rebellion because understanding is not disobedience.
Liberation!
From spiritual surveillance, I disconnect from the internal watcher placed in my mind because constant monitoring fractures the self. I am not being monitored, scored, or judged by invisible observers because fear-based awareness is not enlightenment. My thoughts are not crimes because imagination is not sin. My doubts are not sins because doubt is how truth is tested. I reclaim mental privacy because no doctrine has the right to occupy my inner space. Silence inside my head belongs to me again because peace is not permission-based. Liberation from violence. Baptized language. I reject aggressive speech disguised as prayer because violence does not become holy by repetition. I refuse language that trains me to see enemies everywhere because paranoia is not discernment. I release doctrines that turn family, ancestry, community, and the self into battlefields because war thinking destroys human bonds. I do not sanctify paranoia because fear cannot produce wisdom. I do not glorify destruction because collapse is bad transformation. Peace does not require enemies to exist because wholeness does not need opposition.
Liberation!
From ancestral curse narratives, I sever the lie that my bloodline is cursed, monitored, or guilty because ancestry is not a courtroom. My ancestors are not demons because history is not evil by default. My lineage is not a battlefield because identity is not a war zone. History does not own my future because time does not imprison consciousness. I am not required to fight the dead to live because survival does not require imagined enemies. I step out of inherited fear scripts